Okay, so we have all these reports about chemists have higher incidence of tumors, elevated breast cancer mortality among women. Report after report after report after report. In fact, in 2008, in the United States, we graduated 13,000 undergraduates in chemistry, 2,000 master's degrees in chemistry, 2,300 doctoral degrees in chemistry. In 2004, for the first time in history, more women became chemists than men. What could be more important to the field of chemistry than an understanding of reproductive harm and toxicity? And yet, ready for the scary thing? To get a degree in chemistry, not one university in the country requires a chemist to ever take a course in toxicology or environmental mechanisms. Why do we have red dyes that cause cancer? Why do we have plasticizers that cause birth defects? It isn't an epic battle of good and evil. It's for some bizarre reason, people who make molecules have no clue about the impact on human health and the environment. The reason I flew across the country to talk to you guys today is because you're the people that understand impacts on human health and the environment. If you live in your own little spaces, talking to other doctors, talking about medicine, and don't reach out and talk to the people who invent materials, we're stuck doing this forever. We need you to get involved to actually communicate what you know, communicate the knowledge of human health and how molecules impact human health to the people who are inventing molecules, because they don't learn it. You learn it and you don't make molecules, and the people who make molecules don't. If you don't communicate with these people, we're in trouble. And so the American Chemical Society has all these rules of what you must have to get a degree in chemistry. USC, UCLA, any of the universities around. If you look on the website of what you have to take calculus, biochemistry, instrumentation, stuff like that. Not one university is going to ask for anything about toxicology, environmental impact, nothing. It is absent from how we teach chemists. So after 10 years of Polaroid, I left it and I went to the University of Massachusetts and I started a PhD program in green chemistry. I started to get people who are interested in human health and were also interested in making molecules and put them together and said, can we start doing this together? Can we start using non-impact on human health as a design feature for making products? And so what I did was I said, you guys hear about sustainability all the time, right? We can't help but hear sustainability, sustainability, sustainability. What the heck is sustainability? Well, you could talk about sustainable economics, agriculture, education, business, chemistry. You can cut this up a million different ways. Sustainable chemistry is the subset of sustainability that talks about making molecules. All right? And so you can talk about chemicals policy, you can talk about remediation, you can talk about exposure, green chemistry. So green chemistry is a subset of sustainable chemistry. Now here's the gig. Is a solar energy panel sustainable chemistry? What if it's made of toxic materials? Right now, every single solar panel in 20 years, when we put it in a landfill, is going to be a toxic waste. Is that really sustainable? You know, we need it for the energy, but we need more inventions. It's not enough to make, do you know that most filtration, when you go to all the countries in the world and we have these beautiful membranes that are purifying water, do you know that the chemicals that go into making the purification membranes generate more water pollution than those membranes will actually filter? That we still haven't invented yet chemistry that's safe. So there's all this catch-22s in the way that we do stuff. So green chemistry is, if the building blocks are sustainable, then the applications will be. But if we're not communicating with the medical profession, what are we doing? We have no clue. So we need to communicate better. We got to talk about the solvents, the catalysts, the feedstocks, the toxicity, the persistence, all of these different things. In my book I have 12 principles, so I think there are 12 ways of looking at this. All right? So here's the rub. If you think right now, you look at the ceiling, look at the floor, look at your clothes, look at the electronics, everything that's available to us in society today, only maybe 10% is truly sustainable. 90% of the stuff that we're working with, that we touch, that we interact with, has something wrong with it. Maybe it's from a non-renewable feedstock. Maybe it's toxic. Maybe it uses a lot of energy. There's something wrong with it. If people go on the computer and search for the best available technology, do what's called an alternatives assessment, maybe they will find another 20, 25%. But today, in 2011, I'm here to tell you that over 65% of the technologies haven't been invented yet. It's not that they're available and we choose not to use them. They haven't been invented yet. And so one could look at this in despair and say, oh my God, 65%. Or you could say, what better time in human history to be in the business of inventing safe materials? What could be more important? What could be more important than being responsible for taking a traditional technology and making it environmentally benign? The chemists can't do it without you. We need you to be part of this process, or it's not going to happen. You need to be communicating with people who are making the future molecules and materials and understanding how these things go together. Because where did the product come from? This microphone here. What happened? How did someone invent this? Well, we take molecules, we take them out of the ground, and we call them materials, and we call that basic research. We turn materials into components, we call that applied research. When we turn components into devices, we call that development. When we manufacture a lot of them, we call it manufacturing. To do this well, we got to worry about, well, performance, cost, things like that, just like green chemistry, because the environment is in the middle. Right? We've got to ask ourselves, where did the materials come from? Where did the materials go in the end of its life? How it all interacts, bless you. Who is in the best position to control the negative impacts? The people who invented in the first place. Do you know that back in the ancient Greeks, when the ancient Greeks had an architect, and an architect designed a bridge or a building, they put the architect in the building as they removed all the supports, so that if that architect made a mistake, they'd be the first to know. In chemistry, the person who invented the chemistry is nowhere around when the molecules go out into the public. We need to change this and make sure that those chemists are part of that process. Okay, and so green chemistry is about inventing those solutions. What I want to do is I want to jump and say, this isn't about ethics, all right? You've all had chemistry classes, I assume. You've all worked in the chemistry lab. You all kind of know that chemistry is a little dangerous. What do you do when you work in chemistry? Well, you wear gloves to protect your skin. You wear masks to protect your lungs. You wear goggles to protect your eyes. You install scrubbers and smokestacks to protect the handle and the sea. What have we always done for 150 years in chemistry? What we've always done is we've accepted that it's dangerous, but we do stuff like this to protect ourselves. And we say, that's okay. Engineers will protect ourselves as long as we've got these things. All I have to say is Bhopal, Tokyo, Louisiana. We've got oil all around Louisiana. We've got nuclear explosions in Tokyo. We've got Bhopal in India. Accidents always happen. Not sometimes, always. We have to change the world to say, instead of looking at exposure and saying, we're going to build things to protect ourselves from exposure, why don't we make it safe in the first place? But a chemist can't do that without people in the medical profession telling them what makes something safe. That's the change. We need to have your ideas, your thoughts in this process. Okay? So yes, there's a whole bunch of cost. It costs a lot more to have a dangerous, toxic material. All right? I did something really interesting. I went to the federal government and I looked at all the laws, all of the laws in the federal government that talk to industry and say, this is what you must do to be safe. For the last 150 years, not a lot happened until 1962. This woman, Rachel Carson, published a book called Silent Spring and changed the world. All of a sudden, you see, because of one person's hard work, look what happened to the regulations in the federal government. We can argue that it might not be enough, but the key here is that the regulations are getting really fast. There's a lot more of them. Industry's scared of this. They know that the biggest impediment to success is understanding this, and yet the chemists that are inventing it don't know it. So the last image I want to leave you with is the image of a toolbox, okay? My dad was an electrician. Everything in our house was toolboxes, okay? We had a toolbox for our silverware. We had a toolbox for pretty much everything. My mother would go crazy. Chemical Enterprises has a toolbox. We have a drawer for carbon-carbon bond forming reactions, a drawer for oxidations, reductions, hydroxylations, all the different chemical reactions. There's a drawer. If we can conceive of a molecule, we can make it. However, if we imagine a green chemistry toolbox in which every one of those tools is green and environmentally benign, I already told you it's 90% empty. Who's going to invent the solutions? That's what we need to do. We need to look and change. Right now, for the last, what happens when someone comes to a chemistry class and wants to make kids interested in chemistry? What do? We blow something up, or we make an explosion or something like that. Well, that's not working anymore. We need new ideas. We need new thoughts to come into chemistry, okay? And so if we just do it the way we've always done it, we're going to have the same results over and over and over again. So this is now a time to kind of change and look at the people who wouldn't necessarily, maybe even someone here that is considering going into medicine, maybe you might consider instead becoming an industrial chemist and inventing safe materials. For 50 years of environmental activism, we have always been shaking our fist at companies saying, stop this, don't do this, don't do this. What green chemistry says is, learn how to make safe products, walk in the front door of industry, and say, do this instead. All right? I'm hoping that, I don't think that you guys are going to become chemists. Some of you might, but I know that you're destined to go into the medical profession. But you're going to be, I hope, working with chemists, and you're going to apply your passion of trying to protect human health and protecting the environment, and taking what you learn and work with the people who make molecules. And literally, we desperately need you to do nothing short of saving the world. Thank you.